I watched KD last night, and my takeaway is, how do you take that body and limp to New York and play for the Knicks next to Kevin Knox and no talent? Like, I'm sorry, but he's family now. That feels like he is family.
That's a great way to put it, because part of the reason, if not the main reason, he was going to leave was the narrative that they didn't need you and you went and got easy rings and so on and so forth. Even if Golden State comes back and wins this series, I think that narrative is dying. Like, even if they win it without him, it feels like this episode will make him more a part of that organization. There's always been this feeling, and Durant even admitted it in an interview a few weeks ago. It's kind of been the Warriors and KD, like separate.
It's real.
But now when you saw, and I'm not even talking about Bob Myers crying and stuff, but just this whole, like, how much these players want him back. Steph Curry during a game and Iguodala were walking him to the locker room. I know Steph wasn't in at that point, but still, it's during a game.
Right.
And it just feels like they're talking about winning it for KD. Like, this could make him more a part of the franchise than he's ever been. And now he'll feel like it won't be like, oh, he wasn't there for the whole thing. He wasn't there for the start. It'll feel like he's an integral part. And if they lose, of course, then you need him.
I think Toronto's going to just clobber Golden State in Game 6. I don't think they match up. They're 8-9 without KD in the finals. That's what this dynasty is. They're 9-1 with KD in the finals. I don't think their length. We got Looney may not play, KD out, and Boogie at 70%. I think length is a huge factor here, and I think Toronto's going to go. Here's my thing. If Toronto just smokes them, that is more of a, wow, we need Kevin Durant.
And again, even if they come back and win it, which I think is a possibility, obviously Toronto has the edge. And to your point, the Raptors, Nick Nurse all he has to say to his team is, look, they hit 23 pointers.
Exactly.
That's the second most in finals history. We hit 8. All right. We didn't shoot well from the foul line. We had been shooting 90% from the foul line in the first 4 games. We shot 78 last night. If we didn't get anything from Kawhi outside of that 2 minutes burst. Pascal Siakam didn't play well, and we lost by a point. So he can say that. However, I do think Golden State has a shot now to win this. I'm sticking with my pick of them in 6. So I'll go 7 now, but I'm giving them a chance to win. But my point is, Kevin Durant is going to feel more like a part of that fabric of that franchise now. And here's the deal, too, for Durant. It was always going to be a risk for him to leave. Leave a place where you could win 2 or 3 more championships, or even if it's just 1 more championship, for a place where you may not win any. Even at his best, and he's arguably the best player in the world, there's still a big question mark as to whether or not he can lead a team to a championship. He might just be an all-time great player that can't lead his own team to a title because he wasn't playing with clowns in Oklahoma City. Russell Westbrook is what he is, a great player. Steven Adams was there. Serge Ibaka was there. I know they had injuries, but they never got over the hump. And now if he comes back not quite what he used to be, maybe he will be. I think there's a great chance he's as good as he used to be because of his build, his skills, all that. But what if he's just, instead of a prime KD, he's a prime Carmelo Anthony, and he can't lead a team to a championship? You're risking all of that to leave a team where you can win. So I think now, if I'm Kevin Durant, I really have to rethink. If I was that close to leaving, I really have to rethink staying.
I'll throw this at you. So I'm watching that KD injury, and the second thing that comes to my mind first is, oh, this is heartbreaking. The second thing is Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard. This guy just got hurt. I'm taking my max money, bro. Kawhi Leonard, I'm sitting there thinking, I am gassed. I'm about 80%.
You can see,
I'm taking my max money. I think that resonates around the league from stars who say, I'm done, a 1-year contract. I'm not giving up 40 large. I think his injury makes these stars say, I'm sticking put and taking my max in Philly if I'm Jimmy Butler or Kawhi in Toronto.
Well, a few things. With Kawhi, there's been talk. There was actually a report that he's leaning toward a short-term deal with the Raptors, 1 or 2 years, whatever that may be. He's already fragile physically. Like, he's as tough and strong as he is physically, his body is fragile. He took 22 games off, and you can see he's worn down in these playoffs. So I think he needs to look at it like, let me get a 4 or 5 term deal, year deal. Let me lock up wherever he goes. If he stays, if he goes, get the long-term deal just in case you break down in a couple years. As far as Kyrie, if Kyrie, and you mentioned Brooklyn, I know they're going to try to get Anthony Davis if they can get Kyrie, but they gave up some of their assets. So if you're Kyrie Irving and you want to go to Brooklyn, but you can't get AD, you can't get KD.
Because if the Lakers make a move on AD, it could be by the weekend, by the way, because people want to do it before the draft. So to your point, suddenly in 3 days, Lakers have AD, Raptors win in a couple, the next day AD's a Laker. If I'm Kyrie, I'm going to Brooklyn by myself?
That's my point. Like, don't leave. I would say stay in Boston. Like, you're in a great, now, look, I always say this for players. Personal reasons, that's you. I will never criticize a player for making personal moves. But I'm talking about from a basketball standpoint. Why would you leave the Celtics to go to Celtics Light, which is what Brooklyn is? You similar coach, but not quite Brad Stevens. From what we think, players, a bunch of, little engines that overachieve. That's what you got in Boston. And if AD doesn't end up with the Lakers, Boston could if they got Kyrie, they can make a great deal for AD. So I think Kyrie has to rethink all the players he had that weren't happy with him being there and all that. You can trade them out of there and build around Kyrie, get you another star. So I think he has to really look at it as staying in Boston rather than going to Brooklyn with no other star.
Listen, it's funny how this stuff plays out. But I look at Kawhi Leonard today, and we were talking about this when we were prepping this morning. Kawhi Leonard stays in Canada. So I'll be the GM of the Raptors.
Right.
I'm going to give you 35 you can't get elsewhere. Your body's breaking down. I'll give you 24 games off a year. You do get, if you go to the Clippers, you're on billboards. There'll be no 24 games off a year. Okay? And by the way, KD just got hurt.
Though.
Huh?
Maybe. Like we said, that could become a trend.
But I'm just saying, the Clippers' whole mantra and culture right now, play hard. It's all chemistry. How's that work with a third of the games I'm not playing? I think that Kawhi Toronto thing,
for Kawhi,
free condo, free food for you and your...
Right. He's got it. It's going to just be a personal decision for him. There's no basketball reason to leave Toronto.
None.
Not any at all.
Clippers are a slightly less talented version of the Raptors. That's what they are. That's what their roster is.
I don't know if they're slightly less talented. It's close. I think if he goes to the Clippers, they're Clippers West, or they're Toronto West.
All right.
Like, very similar, and that's what can be attractive to Kawhi about them. But it's just going to come down to, does he want to live in Canada or does he want to come back to Southern California? That's really what it's going to come down to.
Canada's very nice.
No, it is. It is.
Little cold in the winter.
I mean, look, he could set it up where he doesn't even have to go outside. Like, look, have somebody pick me up. The car is warm for practice and all. Like, no, that's what I'd do if I was him.
I talked to a college football coach years ago that used to coach at Iowa State. He said we'd bring the recruits in. We'd have a heated van. Before they got out of the airport, we put jackets on them, into the heated van, drove into the athletic department. We always made sure it was heated.
Right.
Our van was heated. So when they go to Ames, Iowa in January for recruiting, they're like, it's balmy there. He goes, we never let them outside. They just went classroom to athletic to hot van to meal. So 12 degrees doesn't feel bad when you're just looking at it, not living it. And I think that's a point. Chris Broussard, good stuff. Good seeing you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.